Yo, what up, guys? Welcome back to the Card Brothers. Today it is me and Nick. It's so good to be back. And we're actually talking about our ban list predictions. Nick, any insight here on why we're doing this?
Yeah, so I initially thought the ban list was going to be coming out today. It's August 20th, but unfortunately not today. Hopefully next week. So we're just trying to get something out for you guys, kind of see where our heads at, see what you guys think. Hopefully get a couple ideas of what we think the future of the formats will be looking.
Yeah, for sure. And I know myself, I've personally been a little disconnected from the game just because of how poor the format's been. And I might even speak for Nick here. I think we're both kind of in the same position. Um, just like,
Yeah, yeah. I kind of after Nats, I kind of took a break. And wasn't super into the game. I started playing a couple days ago. Wasn't that bad, but on a hyper competitive level, I can see that there's going to be a lot of issues coming up.
for sure. So, I mean, if you want, let's just jump straight into the ban list. Obviously, I put a couple of the big hitters up first, which we're going to just address the elephant in the room is uh, Snake Eyes. Uh, so,
Yeah. Well, part of it is because I'm not sure if you saw, but there was like a blog post. Konami basically said that or not the most Sacramento.
uh,
They're like, hey, play you Bell and Snake Eye while you can. And so we're all kind of expecting a pretty nuclear hit on those type of things, but I don't know if it's going to be that bad.
I did not see that. That's fire. I think the game needs a nuke because people are quitting and it's not good. And I love this game and I want to see it thrive. They need to do something. It's not fun right now. So,
Yeah. I mean,
um,
obviously, first couple of hits are going to be Snake Eye hits. This thing needs to go.
yeah. So maybe we can talk about what they can do. Um, as you guys can probably see on the screen, I didn't put Princess up here just because I think Princess is kind of a fair card. And the deck can do stuff without it. It's just not as good. So I maybe I'll let you talk about this a little more, Nick. Any of these hits or limits or anything that you think should happen?
So the issue with like literally all the Snake Eye cards you have on the screen, if you limit any of those, it doesn't really do anything,
That's
right?
true.
Because Queen Smith engine through bonfires, through stuff like that, the deck kind of just gets to it either like no matter what, and the ceiling's still going to be the exact same.
I agree.
Now because like if you ban Ash, the deck dies. If you ban Poplar, the deck dies. So if you do either of those, you can't really do that. Now I will say there I think either Flamberge and or Oak, either one of those banned will definitely be helpful. In my eyes, those are like two of the really powerhouse cards for the engine. The reason why I put original in there and you don't see things um, like Black Witch or Wanted and stuff like that is if they hit original, it literally just invalidates that engine for the entire Snake Eye deck. But I do think they're going to keep the Diabell Star stuff around to sell as a Mina, which if you guys don't know, basically it's in the lore of the like Black Witch stuff, and that engine, the Diabell Star engine, and the Azamina stuff go like hand in hand, and it's absolutely crazy. So I don't know if they're going to hit that.
I agree. I would like to see them ban original sinful spoils. And just banning that I don't think is enough. They would have to ban something else. Honestly, I think they should ban Sinful Spoils, Oak, and Flamberge, but that's just wishful thinking. Um, I think ideally what I think they'll, if I had to guess what they'll do is they'll ban Sinful and hopefully ban Oak. Then they'll limit one of these two cards. Probably
Yeah,
the best limit would be this one because this one at one isn't, it doesn't really matter. Um,
yeah.
just personally, I would like to see them ban all three, but I doubt that'll ever happen.
I can't remember which player it was, but I heard somebody say that Snake Eye Ash is like best whenever it's hard drawn. Because they basically gives you another way to play through either like original, through bonfire searching poplar, through the Fiendsmith stuff right now that we have. Um, so a lot of those cards like just make it so this hard drawing Snake Eye Ash, all those become extenders. But Ash at one, the likelihood of drawing it is a little bit less. But honestly, if you're going to do like the big hits that we were talking about to the rest of the engine, I don't even think Snake Eye Ash would be the problem.
No, yeah, definitely not. Speaking of Bonfire, I'm glad you brought that up. Bonfire should probably be limited, just like every other Rhoda type card. Um,
Definitely, yeah.
I think that's just what those cards were made for. I don't think this card should be at 3. It's not fun at 3. Um, so yeah, I don't know if you agree or disagree, but I would like to see this at 1.
I don't mind it at three. It is seeing play and stuff like Centurion, which I don't really have an issue with, as long as they kind of address other cards in that deck. Um, so I don't know. I could see it staying around. I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, it does have the hard once, which makes it a little bit better than some of the other ones. So, but it is still a really, really, really powerful card. But yeah, I think we've talked enough about the Snake Eye engine. Obviously, everybody knows these cards are completely broken, overpowered,
Yeah.
need to go. Please, Konami, get rid of some of these, please. And so now we can kind of move on to some of the other cards that we were talking about. Maybe the Ubel stuff is up next. So for Ubel, I put in Dark Beckoning Beast and Phantom down here. And maybe even like some of the Unchained stuff, not necessarily Shyama, but maybe like I don't know. I
Or
like
stuff like that. Yeah.
Yama's really good, but banning Yama just feels really wrong. Um, so
Yeah. Same with like any of the Unchained cards, but if I'm being honest, if they're thinking about banning stuff like IP, banning, like Soul of Rage isn't a bad shot. But again, you're just doing indirect hits to like a Fiend pile engine. I feel like just hitting the core of the deck might just be better.
I kind of like the idea of it being a fiend pile, but I do think Phantom of Ubel is a little too strong. This card's a little crazy. Um, so I could
Yeah, this
definitely this card will get limited at some point, whether it's this ban list or not. This card at 3 is too good, so it's gonna get limited. So just be prepared for that. I'm not a financial advisor, but yeah, Phantom of Ubel will go to 1 at some point in the game's life. Um,
and honestly, if that's all they hit for the deck. I don't think it would be like the deck could still definitely be very powerful, but if they have like either Dark Beckoning Beast hit it to one, but honestly, probably the opening of the Spirit Gates
Spirit
newest spell
Gates, yep.
that may be the move. So maybe the continuous spell as well as Phantom to one. Both of those to one, I think will really help the bring down the ceiling of the deck a little bit.
So this is such a weird ban list, specifically because like in the past formats, we've had like individual cards that were way too strong.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like these decks, just the whole engine is strong. Like
Yeah,
banning or limiting one card, like obviously banning Phantom would go insane, but like the deck is still probably not. It's not at nearly as good, but it would still function. Um, So it's kind of a weird list because like I threw a bunch of cards up here, but like you can't just hit one. You can't just have one if you want the deck to not see play. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so Ubel is definitely up there. I think Ubel is a close second in power, but it's not. I mean, when I say close second, I mean like compared to Snake
Snake,
Eye, it's like I don't know. Um,
yeah,
so
I think honestly,
yeah, I mean, we can move on from that. Like Ubel isn't as frustrating as some of the other decks, especially Snake Eye. So maybe we can move on to the third deck we kind of have on our list here, which would be uh, Tenpai Dragon.
yeah,
Obviously,
I freaking hate this deck, man.
this deck is not fun to play against. There's zero interaction. Um,
But it's not even play. Like,
no, it's not. It's you do a linear combo once and your opponent's dead. You blow your opponent out with a bunch of these. Well, maybe not necessarily Dark Ruler, but specifically like Droplet or Super Poly or stuff like that.
sometimes they're seeing cards like Dark Hole,
Yeah,
Raigeki,
yep.
um, Lightning Storm. Like some of these board breakers. Like something that we were kind of thinking about was Field Spell to one, I think that's kind of like a pretty solid consensus across like the whole entire community. The field spell being not one, like it's already searchable through Hydra through so many ways. And honestly, we just need to ban terraforming as well, just to get rid of like the crazy field spells we have right now.
Yeah,
Um,
terraforming isn't a fun card. It should be banned. It's not good to have in a format. I don't know. All the field spells just feel like if you open your field spell and go first, you win the game nowadays. So
yeah,
like searching your win condition, especially for like stuff like Gimmick Puppet, stuff like Tempai Dragon, stuff like even in the past like Kashtira field spell, like just opening terraforming goes so hard, bro. So
and in Nightmare Throne, searching the
yep,
Samsara as well.
yep.
It's another consistent.
It
Um,
could definitely go
it's
for
either,
sure.
I feel like they probably put terraforming. They probably keep terraforming on one. That's kind of more of a wish list than a prediction. But the field spell to one is definitely something I could see. And then if they really like, if they wanted to keep the deck around, because I know they have to sell the new Trident Dragon reprint, hitting some of the like the craziest like hard board breakers this deck's playing, like I was saying, like Raigeki, Lightning Storm. Um, I mean, heck, bro, D Shifter is literally one of the craziest cards, and they can basically play it for free. Um, it's like just hitting some of the cards that make going second decks just be able to blow people out.
Yeah, I'm sure we're gonna talk about this card a little more. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, just like the going second cards, some of the going second cards just are not fun at all. Like to play against Super Poly, you can't even react to. Forbidden Droplet, you can't react to. It's just a blowout card. Now I will say Forbidden Droplet has a little more skill involved than some of the other ones, so maybe not specifically Forbidden Droplet. I like that card personally, but just these were just here as like board breaker ideas. Like really, it's like you said, Raigeki Dark Hole, like silly stuff that makes it so you can get OTK'd out of nowhere. Just not fun.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, Tempai Dragon. Moving on to the third deck, we kind of have talked about this multiple times, which would be branded. It's funny, there's only Albion up here for branded, but specifically Albion slash Gimmick Puppet. Um, Now I know, like obviously, like if you hit Gimmick Puppet, there's other targets, which is why this is such a weird hit, because like you hit Gimmick Puppet and you hit Ito, and then like you can't
And they still have
send it. You know, like you can't send it as easy, but they are not gonna hit. Like it's just a weird conundrum. Like we're doing the Halka Fibrax treatment with this card. Like if you like them having a card, like a strong card like this, just print a different one and ban this one,
yeah, that's
right?
fair.
Um,
I
so
mean, at this point, the amount of crazy stuff that Brandon can do outside of Game of Puppet, like I think just getting rid of that toxic interaction, just like, and even if they like, dude, like being able to resolve triple Mirror Jade plus like a Guardian Chimera, like the branded deck is absolutely insane. They don't need Gimmick Puppet to survive.
honestly,
It's
I
just go ahead.
I really like that idea of them getting rid of something like this. The deck's really strong without it, and there's kind of been this theme recently where the Konami's been focusing on making decks do what that deck does, if that makes any sense, where it's not like, oh, I'm gonna spam Baron and then I'm gonna spam this Omni negate and this generic negate and this and this and this. Right now Brandon's known for putting a Gimmick Puppet on your deck, but that's not what the deck does. You know what I mean? So maybe I could definitely see just get rid of this card. It's just not fun to play against. And even if you ban all the targets, like this card's still just like it's really not even that good for engine. Like just like I guess they can resolve an Aliber during your opponent's turn, but they already have like a million forms of recursion, so it's like what does that matter, you know?
That's pretty free already.
So
Uh, and speaking of gimmicks, Gimmick Puppet,
Argent Chaos Force, this is just the rank up magic. Um, but obviously the deck does some really cringe stuff because they have a field spell that reads the same thing as Tenpai. And they just FTK. I don't like encouraging FTK esque decks. At least Tenpai, you have to go second to do it. Whereas this deck, like, you open field spell, your opponent's dead.
you more than likely are going to lose that game.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, I think for that, I mean, just hit the rank up. It's the most like most recurable. It's like recurs itself, and it's like their main way to keep like XE climbing essentially just to kill you on the first turn. It's not fun.
now there's other rank up spells they can play, right? They don't have to play this Argent Chaos Force.
This is definitely the best one,
Yeah.
because it's recurable. So then they can get like the second rank up off. So
Right.
yeah,
For
definitely the right one to hit for it
for
to be a good
sure.
one.
For sure. And then I
And then
guess we can move on to this card here.
yeah, so this one I put on the list. Um, I don't think they will. However, with all the crazy like just custom water support that's coming out, I believe in October, and Rage of the Abyss, that card is going to be absolutely absurd. It is a hand rip for two. It is a big body, and it just does so much for the deck. Between the I think it's called Minstrel that
Yeah.
rips the card out of your opponent's hand like a hand trap.
Yep.
This is going to be hand ripping them for two. They also have other ways to do stuff like
There's
that.
Trish is at 3. It's like
Exactly.
so
Yeah, they already have ways to do like hand rip stuff. That's not encourage even more of it.
yeah, I agree. Mulan Glacia was really strong in the past. Anytime there's a water deck that's near like rearing its head, this card always has like this kind of discussion because it just does unfair things. So I could definitely see Mulan Glacia like just getting hit preemptively. Although it is one of those things where like you keep some really strong cards around so the deck is sellable. I could see that. So yeah, I kind of want to leave these other floodgates we have here towards the end of our talk. Maybe we can jump into the extra deck a little bit because we have specifically an engine we haven't talked about, and then some other generic cards we haven't talked about. So maybe
Yeah,
we could jump into the Fiendsmith engine here. Um,
like they're not. I personally don't think they're going to hit the core of the engine. I know like some people have been talking about banning Moon of the Close Sky. I just don't see it. The card's brand new, even though they printed it as a common. I just can't see them doing that. It doesn't make sense. Um, Now, granted, it would be a good hit. It would be a good hit. But I just can't see them doing it. At least not yet.
it's just so sad because when I read this card, it was before the Fiendsmith stuff was announced, and I thought it was such a cool card, you know. And now it's just being played as a vanilla to wombo combo your opponent to death,
Yeah,
and that kind of sucks. Uh, I agree that banning this card makes it so like the Fiendsmith deck is the Fiendsmith deck. It doesn't make it so every single deck is the Fiendsmith deck now. Um, and obviously, I mean, we can talk about this girl. I will be very depressed to see Beatrice go. Um, but it's
why?
time. You know how many times I've sent a tier lament with Beatrice. You know how many times we've sent BAs with Beatrice. She's a great card. She's just way too generic, and especially with the Fiendsmith stuff, it's just her time. It is just she's better Laval All Chain, and Laval All Chain's been banned for how long?
God, so long.
Um,
Uh, so yeah, it's just you know, '07, adios. It's been good.
yes. So I don't think we really need to talk about why she needs to be banned. She just does. So, moving on to kind of our generic extra deck stuff. Maybe I'll scoot this one over here a little bit. So we have IP, SP, and Apo. Now I kind of feel like these are a little bit of a not necessarily a package ban, but like they are very similar. Like you can talk about them in the same space specifically. Um, I could see them. I would really like them to ban Appaloosa. Um, that card's never been fun to play against ever, and especially paired with other cards, it's just unbelievably broken. Um, and we're getting rid of all of our Omni negates, so why not get rid of a card that is a turbo Omni negate on legs? Um, so yeah, I think Appo should go.
Well, the power of Apo, especially like at least in the current format, is that it's not the fact that it's part of an inboard. is the fact that it is a way to basically like nullify all hand traps.
Yep.
Because like it like for example, like in Snake Eye, you're putting that card up while you have like Flamebirds on board. You already haven't gone through your Fiendsmith stuff yet. Like it's just a way to insulate yourself, and you just there's nothing that you can do about it. You
Yep.
know, it's like okay, you can either nib early and it does essentially nothing, or you can go like you can try and do it later if you have another hand trap. Like it just card's got to go. But I feel like it's either Appaloosa or IP. I don't think it's both.
I agree with you. It's definitely not both. I think I think Apo is the better target specifically because of the Ubel deck and how the stupid spell card interacts with Appaloosa. You can't even attack over it while the spell's up, and you have a thing you have to attack Ubel. Um,
Yeah.
and it's just frustrating. Like IP is not. I think IP is a fair, not necessarily a fair card, but just a good card. Like I like IP. I think it's more fun than sitting there and saying no over and over. Uh, so I would like to see
Also,
Apo.
like the only deck that's really abusing IP right now is Snake Eye, and the only reason they're able to is because of cards like Flame Burge, just being able to summon it and just basically literally summon it on your opponent's turn, and then being able to use its effect as well. Like it's just
Yeah,
you know it's actually insane.
and now we can kind of talk about the third member here, maybe SP a little bit.
It's not gonna go, man. Like
I
they're
love
reprinting it.
SP. I really
It
like
is
that card.
it's broken, but it like the restriction on it isn't that bad. Um, but it's still like a hindrance. And honestly, the link arrows make it kind of hard to like actually start playing with it. Because you put it on your board, I think as an inboard, but then you just lock out a link so or you're forced to get rid of it.
Yep.
Um, so I think it's fine. Card's fine. It's cool.
It's really obviously it's really strong, but
Mhm.
yeah, I would like to see it go or not go. I'd like to see it stay. So,
Yeah.
and then
And
last card, kind of. We can kind of bunch these three together because they all have a stupid effect that isn't fun or interactive at all. As you guys can tell, like my theme here is these cards are not fun. Let's get rid of them. Um, this card skips your opponent's turn.
yeah, there's no way around it. That's what the card is.
This card skips your opponent's turn. It should be banned. True King of all calamities got banned. It's time for the Archfiend King Calamity to get banned. It's just not fair. Like, and the cards that enable it aren't good enough to ban. So this one needs to go. So
Yeah, for sure. Same with like D Shifter. Like if they there are so many decks that are relevant simply because that card exists. It's a 2-turn macrocosmos for everything. It's a quick effect. Now, granted, I think that if we bring something back like Gamma, that is literally one of my most favorite cards in the game. If we bring back something like that, maybe we can keep D Shifter around, just to kind of punish the idiots who don't play around it. But if it went away, I would be so incredibly happy. And then this kind of like in the similar vein, skill drain. There are so many decks that can just flip it and then out on their own turn and kill you. It's
specifically
just
Snake Eyes, but yes, like
Snake Eye, White Woods. There's also just like the runic stun decks just don't care about it. Like it, it's crazy.
it shouldn't be that good. Like one card should not have that much of an impact on a game.
Yeah,
Lingering floodgates. This is more of a lingering floodgate. This, I mean, obviously has to stay on the field, but it is still a quote unquote lingering floodgate as long as it's on the field. Are just not fun. Like
and
they're
Konami's been doing good about hitting those kind of cards, so hopefully we can see that happen.
my specific worry is this card's like exactly shifter, especially with what's that new deck called? It's like
Oh, the Malice.
the Malice deck with shifter is ridiculous. Please, can we not
Great.
have that? Please, please. um, and as an honorable mention, I kind of threw this card in here. Um, So every other format kind of has crossout as a card to talk about. Like in the OCG, I think it's at one, and Master Duel it's at one, and our format it's at three. Obviously, at three, this card is very powerful, and it enables such. It's like it's a better card in a vacuum than crossout, right? Specifically because so many decks are playing so many hand traps, and crossout or not crossout, called by called by specifically negates only a monster that's sent to the grave, and it negates it for 2 turns. So if you have the same hand trap in your hand on your turn or your opponent's turn, you can use it, right? Whereas called by, which is at one because it's that broken, which does a very similar effect, it only lasts 1 turn. So
The main reason why crossout is so crazy right now is kind of like you said, all the hand traps. Like just it's because of all the generic cards that are being played right now. The Fiendsmith stuff, like all the amount of hand traps, just like things like Prosperity, Called by, like all these like generic cards that so many decks are playing right now. It just makes crossout better. And the more like generic engines that we get, the better the cards.
for sure.
So and it's the same reason why I think Called by is one of the best cards in the game. Is because it usually it's supposed like, crossout is supposed to be in a like specifically a defensive card, against hand traps. But now in this kind of format, it's also an offensive card, being able to call like a bonfire, a snake eye ash, a terraforming, things like these, like be able to stop your opponent from playing rather than stop them from stopping you, type of thing.
And specifically crossout's so broken because again, like there's a ton of mirrors. Called by is for both turns and only hits a monster that's in the grave. Crossout's just a no card. Like it's just you tell your opponent no because you can. This card's very strong. I'd like to see it at one. Um, I think at one it's probably fine, specifically because our called by is at one. So I think we could leave it there.
Yeah, for sure. And like there are other like the other thing that I kind of want to keep this card around for is like the new Mulchami card. That card is absurd. So like just being able to stop these new kind of like blowout hand traps that we're kind of having, it's definitely going to be like something that we have to figure out. Like what would be most optimal. Uh, but honestly, if it went to one, I wouldn't be that upset.
Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of our prediction slash wish list slash please Konami hit this stuff please. Um, tell
Come to
us
the game, please.
Yeah, tell us what you guys think in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your guys' feedback. Nick, anything you want to say before we peace out?
Nothing. I think like the format's rough, but you know, with like literally 3 or 4 hits, three or four big hits, I think the format will be yeah, safe enough for people to start coming back slowly.
For sure.
So,
For sure.
we're
Alrighty, with that being said, guys, thanks so much for watching. This has been Card Brothers Caleb, and
our brothers Nick.
we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, y'all.